While you'd probably be more likely to recognize her brother these days, back in the 80s, it was all about Justine Bateman. After portraying Mallory Keaton on Family Ties for 7 seasons, she had a steady acting career throughout the 90s and early aughts. Once her on-screen appearances tapered off and she came to favor writing and directing gigs, Jason Bateman's level of fame rose above hers. Because her work in front of the camera has been so spotty in recent years, it would be understandable if you didn't recognize Justine Bateman today. She was in her early 40s when she first noticed disparaging online comments about how she looked old, and she decided to stand up against the beauty standards of Hollywood. In 2023, she told AARP that she objects to plastic surgery, saying, "I think a lot of women didn't know that they could opt out of this idea that their faces are broken and have to be fixed. They're just kind of going along with it. I think I was just maybe one of the few people saying, no, 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 no. This is psychotic."
There's nothing wrong with your face. Don't let it distract you from all the things that are coming your way.
How many more years do I have before I get all fat, before my hair falls out, before I look like him?
Back in 1985, Kerri Green was an up-and-comer who seemed to have her sights set on success. Her first credited role was in The Goonies as Andy, the cheerleader who falls for Josh Brolin's character Brand. She then went on to star in Summer Rental alongside John Candy, followed by 1986's Lucas. But then Green's filmography began to dwindle, with just a handful of roles in the 90s, a lone director's credit, and her final on-screen appearance with Complacent in 2012. During a reunion for the 40th anniversary of The Goonies in April 2025, several members of the cast revealed to Today where they thought their characters would be now. Green joked, "All I can picture is that Andy would probably still be in that tennis dress, but drinking martinis. You'd be hard-pressed to see her in front of the camera nowadays, but Green is still reportedly working on projects behind the scenes." Ever since her big break in John Hughes' 1984 debut, 16 Candles, Molly Ringwald has come a long way. She worked as the iconic writer and director's teen muse twice more in The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, but it was only later that Ringwald realized that their dynamic was perhaps a little strange. As she explained on Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky in March 2025, "I mean, it always felt incredibly complimentary, but yeah, there was something a little peculiar.
I'm so popular. Everybody loves me so much."
Although Hughes essentially jump-started Ringwald's career, she isn't nearly as popular as she once was. The actor has remained in the spotlight fairly consistently, though, with a recurring role in the ultra-popular ABC Family series The Secret Life of the American Teenager, Netflix's The Kissing Booth, and even Riverdale. You probably wouldn't recognize her at all if it weren't for her bright red hair. Following her roles in Red Dawn and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Jennifer Grey became widely recognized for playing Baby Houseman in Dirty Dancing. It seemed clear she was on her way to making it big, having proved her acting chops and knack for choreography. Unfortunately, her time in the spotlight was oddly short-lived. Grey wrote in her 2022 memoir, Out of the Corner, "After Dirty Dancing, I was America's sweetheart, which you would think would be the key to unlocking all my hopes and dreams. But it didn't go down that way. Despite making it big alongside Patrick Swayze, there still weren't many roles available for, quote, actresses who looked like Grey. So with encouragement from her parents and a plastic surgeon, she underwent 2 rhinoplasty procedures. Many have attributed her nose jobs to the decline in her career because the surgeries left her completely unrecognizable to the public. Grey hasn't thrown in the towel yet, though, and has continued appearing in projects over the years, like the 2024 Oscar winner A Real Pain, just with straighter hair and a new nose. Ferris Bueller's Day Off catapulted Matthew Broderick, Alan Ruck, and Mia Sara to instantaneous fame. But while the former 2 actors have continued their on-screen work over the years, Sara drifted off. So what really happened to her? While she's remained out of the spotlight for a number of years, Sara's acting career didn't drop off all at once. She worked on projects like 1994's Time Cop and the WB's Birds of Prey series. But in the mid-aughts, she traded up movies and series in favor of a poetry career and motherhood. Sara wasn't finished working in Hollywood, though. In 2025, she reappeared on screen for the first time in over a decade for Mike Flanagan's adaptation of Stephen King's novel, The Life of Chuck. When asked what made her decide to return to acting during her conversation with IndieWire in June 2025, Sara said, "Mike Flanagan is a beautiful man, and he's a friend." When the director asked her to be in his film, she apparently said, "Oh, come on, Mike. For you, I'd do anything." After starring in Fast Times at Ridgemont High at 17 years old and Gremlins a couple of years later, Phoebe Cates seemed destined for greatness. But instead of becoming one of the greats like fellow leading ladies of the 80s, Sigourney Weaver or Meryl Streep, she maneuvered away from film and onto the stage. In October 1988, she told the Chicago Tribune, "One has so much more artistic control in theater, and there are simply not that many good parts in film." Cates retired from acting altogether in the mid-90s, although she appeared on screen one more time in 2001's The Anniversary Party. Taking a look inside Cates' life today, she's managed to create a very different life outside of Hollywood. After marrying actor Kevin Kline, having 2 children, and moving to New York, she opened her own boutique in Carnegie Hill called Blue Tree. With her signature gothic look and campy humor, Cassandra Peterson brought her iconic character Elvira to the screen in 1981 with Elvira's Movie Macabre. The character was a smash success, and she continued performing as the eccentric syndicated horror hostess for decades. Although she lost her status as a household name, Peterson continued making appearances as Elvira on shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and The Goldbergs. Thanks to some kind of black magic, Elvira still looks the same. But when Peterson steps out looking like herself, good luck recognizing her. Speaking with Rolling Stone Australia in April 2022, the 80s star spoke about how much the horror genre has changed since she first became famous, saying, "Horror is definitely bigger now. Throughout my career, 40 years, I would always be out there pitching some horror project and going to networks, and they would say, oh, horror isn't really happening right now. Perhaps it's the increased interest in the genre, or maybe just a pact with the devil." Either way, Peterson has shown surprising longevity in her career.
Until next time, darling. Unpleasant dreams.
The Brat Pack are as synonymous with 80s culture as perms, cassette tapes, and Where's the Beef. It was hard to get away from the young stars at the time, but where other stars went on to see impressive success for decades, other names like Ali Sheedy largely faded from public consciousness. Although it seemed like she was everywhere throughout the 80s, Sheedy slowly started to step away from work in the 90s after her son was born. By the aughts, her Hollywood career had taken a significant hit, but she found other work as a book editor and a theater professor. Sheedy never stopped acting per se, but her roles were few and far between until she joined the cast of Single Drunk Female in 2022. She told Vanity Fair, "I just did not know if another role that would resonate this much within me would come again." You might have first seen her in Jaws 3D or Red Dawn, but by the time Lea Thompson starred in Back to the Future as Marty McFly's mom Lorraine, she was as famous as could be. Throughout the 80s and into the 90s, the iconic redhead was everywhere, but things took a sudden turn when Thompson became a mother. During her appearance on Justine Long's podcast, Life is Short, in August 2019, she revealed, "I did 900 movies in a row, but what happens is it all screeches to a halt when you have a baby." Thompson discovered that as soon as she had her daughters, nobody wanted to cast her as the lead anymore. She continued, "I want to do the research on this because once you push a baby out, you can't be a movie star anymore." While her kids, Zoe and Madeline Deutsch, now have acting careers of their own, Thompson's has undergone something of a resurgence. She starred in 5 seasons of Switched at Birth, directed a slew of TV episodes, and even competed on Dancing with the Stars. It's hard to picture 80s TV without thinking of Shelley Long. Now, more than 30 years after Cheers went off the air, fans are wondering what its cast is up to today. After portraying Diane Chambers for 5 seasons, Long exited the sitcom and went on to have a steady career from the mid-80s to the 2010s. She was never quite able to replicate her early success, but managed to land a recurring role on Modern Family as Dee Dee Pritchett. That wasn't the only time Long portrayed a grandmother. In September 2017, the Cheers star said of her role of Grandma Mildred in Different Flowers, "I don't know how many grandmothers I'm going to play, but it is a category people are starting to think of me as appropriate in, and that's fine." Long hasn't appeared on screen since 2021. She's taken a step back from the public and even declines an invitation to the Cheers reunion in September 2024. If you're a fan of 80s movies like 16 Candles and The Lost Boys, 90s flicks like Twister, or the Atlanta Hawks basketball team, you're probably aware of Jami Gertz. She was discovered at just 16 years old at a talent search, resulting in her casting alongside Sarah Jessica Parker on the show Square Pegs. At the end of the 80s, Gertz married Tony Ressler, who went on to found Apollo Management and Aries Management and became a billionaire. During an October 2018 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Gertz spoke about her relationship with Ressler, saying, "Everyone thinks I married a rich guy, but I made more money, way more money than Tony when I met him. I paid for our first house. I paid for our first vacation. I married him because I fell in love with him." When Ressler made his fortune, it was clear Gertz never needed to return to acting if she hadn't wanted to. Nevertheless, she's continued to make appearances on screen, most recently in 2022's I Want You Back. Back in 1984, everyone either wanted to be Laurie Singer or be with her. The actor had previously worked on the 1982 series Fame, but the pinnacle of her career was undoubtedly when she starred alongside Kevin Bacon in Footloose. After a few roles in the 90s, Singer took a step back from acting to work primarily as a cellist. Unless you happen to catch her in the 2023 indie film Rachel Hendricks, it's probably been nearly a decade since you've seen Singer on the big screen, and it'll likely be a bit longer until you see her again too. During a February 2024 conversation with People in celebration of 4 decades of Footloose, she revealed her thoughts about filming a sequel. Bacon had previously stated a reunion movie would be a disaster, to which she noted, "I don't know, it was so pure for what it is that I kind of agree with Kevin. It's very pure in what it expresses." Never say never though, as Singer seemed to leave the door ever so slightly open during the interview.
It was an amazing experience. It was very intense. It was an astounding character, especially for that time.
While she may have been better known for her roles as Princess Joanna in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the love interest in 1982's The Last American Virgin, or the cute exchange student in Better Off Dead, Diane Franklin contains multitudes. She also had a knack for horror flicks, including Amityville 2: The Possession, Deadly Lessons, and Terror Vision. Then she got busy with life. As she told Cinepunks in February 2019, "I started acting when I was 10, and I kept acting until the end of the 80s, maybe a little bit of the 90s, but basically the end of the 80s was when I stopped. I got married and had my kids. They're old enough now to go to college." Eventually, Franklin returned to the screen to play roles for her screenwriter daughter's projects, which seemingly reignited her passion for acting. Today, Franklin still sports her signature ringlets and iconic beauty mark, but unless you saw her name in the credits, you might not recognize her. If you weren't watching Back to the Future as a kid for Michael J. Fox or Lea Thompson, you might have been eyeing Claudia Wells. She portrayed Marty McFly's girlfriend Jennifer Parker, which would have set any actor up for an impressive career. So why did she disappear from screens altogether just a couple of years later? When the Back to the Future sequel came out, Wells' mother had recently been diagnosed with cancer, and Wells passed on reprising her role. She told People in July 2015, "Life was very, very difficult and stressful. I just didn't have it in me to do anything but deal with the stress and the emotions that were going on as a result of my mom being in the process of dying. I just wasn't in a place to be able to think about my career or the film or anything other than what I was doing with my own life." The part of Jennifer Parker went to Elizabeth Shue, and Wells took a back seat with the intention of someday returning to acting. She finally came back to the big screen in 2008, looking dramatically different. She's been active in the industry ever since.